Affordability has been one of the big buzzwords after last week's elections, and related to that, our pal Cliff Young said he was going to come in wearing a sweater tonight, so I wanted to make him as comfortable as he could for another appearance here on the Final Five. Cliff, great to see you again.
It's great to be here, and thank you so much.
You know, we're all here about comfort here on the Final Five.
Yes, of course.
Plus, it's just casual bros discussing polling here. We have the off-cycle elections, Virginia, New Jersey, and I wanted, first of all, the top line when it comes to affordability and why the polling shows that was such a key issue for voters.
Well, across America, not just in Virginia or New Jersey or the city of New York, but across America, Americans are saying they're having problems putting together their bills, making ends meet. It's not about inflation. It's about sort of how much money is left over at the end of the month, and there's not much right now.
All right, let's get to some of the numbers here. Of course, Ipsos conducting polling on all sorts of issues, and we have them on the show. Let's start about the cost of living, because this was something that people said when you looked at the 2024 election, this is why Kamala Harris lost, this is why Donald Trump won.
Yeah, this is why. Cost of living is why Donald Trump won in 2024, as you were saying. This is a question we ask Americans in general. When thinking about the midterms next year, 2026, what are the most important issues? Look at that. Cost of living is number one at 40%. Independents are the ones that most cite it at 44%, Republicans at 40%, Democrats at 33%. For all Americans, it's important. Obviously, Democrats are also worried about protecting democracy, democratic norms. They've complained about that. They're worried about Trump in terms of his agenda. But overall, it's about affordability.
Are independents still are they still such an important block of voters that we have to pay attention to?
Yeah, they're swing voters. They go back and forth. They vary between 10 and 15% of the population, and they do define elections.
All right, let's talk about the president himself. Approval ratings, always a big deal. Presidents always come in with that honeymoon period, as we see right here, coming in with about 53%, but of course a precipitous decline. How does this fare with previous administrations?
Well, the decline just in general is normal, right? You have that honeymoon period, as you were saying. You know, everyone sort of rallies behind the president for a time. We've noted some of the key events over the course of Donald Trump's initiative. But he right now is at around 42%. If you take the average of all the polls, by the way, we're looking at the average of all the polls, he started up over there about 51%. That's basically a 9-point drop. That's larger than the historic average. The historic average at this time is about 6. So he's outstripping in a negative way that historic average.
So I've always asked you, I feel like the last couple of times, why is that 100-day mark important? And then you see right about here, that's really where we saw that big drop-off from his tariff announcement to that 100-day mark, right?
Yeah, this is where you get, you know, sort of like the fence-sitters, the ones that maybe voted for him, but were unsure. They begin to see what his agenda is, and they don't like it. And then here we see another drop-off, a pretty significant drop-off here. That, once again, is affordability and worry about tariffs.
All right, who is supporting the president right now? We take a look at the demographics here, and this really gives you a good breakdown.
Yeah, so we're looking at demographics. You can see across all demographics, there's been a decline. The biggest ones are under 50K, those individuals that make under 50,000, those individuals that are less educated, Hispanics, blacks. These are all groups that are especially affected by inflation, by the cost of living, by affordability, and we can see how it represents or manifests itself in the numbers.
All right, so let's talk about midterm elections. They're still way more than a year away, but everybody's talking about that bellwether last week, the Virginia governor's race, and what we can extrapolate from the results and how the numbers play out.
I always poo-pooed it. I always said those elections were never important, but I put the data together yesterday, and they are a leading indicator. Maybe a weak one, but they do tend to say who will win the next election, that is the midterms. The Democrats did well. It's suggested that they'll do well in the midterms. Right. Here we have the generic ballot. This is where we're asking all Americans who they'd vote for in the midterms, a Democrat or Republican. We see about a 4-point difference right now. Look at how it's increasing over time. This is a relatively good place for Democrats right now. Obviously, we're far out, but it puts them in a good place compared to last midterm.
All right, and in terms of the GOP, of course, if the Democrats are going to be the big winners, that means the Republicans may stand to lose. They lost the majority. They never had the majority in Virginia, excuse me. They lost their minority. They lost a lot of seats there. Nationally, how projections look that way too?
Yeah, well, typically sort of the party out of power does better. That is, the party in power, the Republicans, are expected to do worse in 2026. They need, that is, Republicans' 2018 seats to keep the House. If we just took the historic average and nothing more, they'd only be at 195. That is Republicans. If we use that generic ballot we just looked at, 203, so on and so forth. These are different ways we're looking at things. In every case, the Republicans lose the House.
Do you think, when I think about Obamacare passing, that's when Democrats had like 60 votes in the Senate back then. Considering how divided we are, you can't gerrymander the Senate. Are we ever close to ever having a 60-vote party majority in the Senate one way or another? What does it take to achieve that?
No, I think it's very difficult today in today's polarized world to get such a strong majority.
Yeah.
And indeed, there's going to be sort of redistricting. They don't call it gerrymandering. They call it redistricting. They had redistricting in Texas, which helps Republicans, doing the same in California, which is helping the Democrats. It's probably the net effect is zero. Ultimately, it's going to be very close.
Yeah. I think you look like you can introduce the new Apple product with that get up tonight.
Well, I have, what is it, 13, 14, 15? I'm not quite sure. Where are we? I don't even know.
Cliff Young on the Final Five. We appreciate you, my friend.